Hey friends, before the episode begins, we have an exciting announcement to make. We are officially having our first ever podcast cruise.
Yay!
If you are interested in sailing with us and sailing with lots of other fun DCL podcast friends and family, you can join us on the July 18th to 23rd, 2026 sailing on the Disney Destiny. Knock out that brand new ship. Christy, where can our listeners go to book this sailing?
You can reach out to me at Christy@packyourpixiedoes.com. You can go to my website and go to the contact me section, and there's a form you can fill out and just give your information and we'll reach out and we'll get you booked. This is a 5-night Caribbean cruise to Cozumel and to Castaway Cay, 2 sea days, which is exciting.
Yes, we are so excited. We are so excited to welcome you all aboard the Destiny with us. So we do hope that you consider joining us for this sailing. As we said, we are still working through the nitty-gritty of the details, but reach out to Christy to book, or if for whatever reason you are booked on this sailing or have booked this sailing, reach out to just let us know that you want to be part of the group. We will definitely be doing different meetups through the lounges. It's going to be just a genuinely, absolutely great time. So we hope you consider joining us. And with that, we will be on to the show.
Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL Podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL Podcast, your podcast to cruise a little smarter. I'm your host, Lake, and I am joined by my co-host, Christy. Christy, how are we today?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. It was a pretty good day so far.
Yeah, look at you running all speedy fast this morning.
Yep, I ran the Lake Mineola half marathon, which was super fun. Some Run Disney friends out there, lots of our training, like my coach's training program. A lot of people out there in our matching singlets as well.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
And
Christy,
last night we did a Patreon Zoom with our Patreons, obviously. And that was super fun. So if anybody's interested in our Patreon program, you can check that out at patreon.com/DCL podcast.
Yeah, it was a really good time. Just a group of us talking about travel plans, sharing travel advice, and just getting to meet and greet everyone. It was a great time. But we have two exciting guests. One of them, a former host of the show. Why don't we welcome back Nova to the show? Nova, how are you today?
Oh my gosh, I came out of my hosting purgatory to rejoin the old crew, and I am living for it. Every time we record one of these episodes, we banter before, and I've missed the banter. It's so much fun, and it feels like old hat just to be able to like sit together and talk about whatever random thing we want to. So, hi everyone.
I am looking forward to that off-the-cuff opinion that Nova is going to give us during the show that is going to absolutely kill me at some point.
Absolutely.
I always have off-the-cuff opinions.
But we have one more guest, another frequent flyer to the DCL podcast, also the one who does a lot of our Instagram social media content for us, sharing all of the fun DCL memes. Let's welcome Amber back to the show. Amber, how are you today?
Doing good. And this is my first show with Nova.
No.
What?
Is that real?
99% sure.
We have some exciting topics to discuss here. We are venturing a little bit away from DCL to do some compare and contrasting. This will be a little bit of a different episode because we're going to make a little bit of a game out of it, because we're talking about Royal Caribbean and doing some comparing, contrasting. Before we get into that, I would like to start with why each of you booked a Royal Caribbean sailing and what sailing and what ship you booked. Christy, go ahead.
So I, along with Nova, because we were on the same cruise, I booked the Utopia of the Seas, which is Royal Caribbean's newest Oasis class ship. And it was supposed to be my first time on the ship. I ended up getting a preview sailing for it. So I had previously been on, but my family didn't. I really did kind of like that they were doing 4-night and 3-night sailings. They alternate. That's the itinerary. And we'd be able to go over Blake's spring break and experience this because Oasis class ships have some really cool stuff. And so I definitely wanted to be able to experience it. We did have a cruise deposit down. So I needed to use this deposit I had put down for Royal Caribbean on a Royal Caribbean sailing. So we did move it to this sailing. And yeah, we booked a junior suite, which gave us suite class benefits because there's different levels in Royal. So we'll talk about it, but they have a pretty cool suite class program as well. I guess maybe we need to add that onto our chart, Lake.
I already did.
I mean, I think I'm the only one voting on it, but still.
It's a bonus for one of them.
Yeah.
Well, Nova, since we already know you were also on the Utopia with Christy, why did you and your family book this sailing?
Well, believe it or not, we did not book it because Christy was on it. In fact, Christy and I figured out we were on the same sailing randomly. We were just chatting and I was like, I'm going to be in Florida. We're actually going on this Utopia of the Seas. And Christy was like, wait, what are the dates? And we realized we're going to be on the same ship. So that was a happy accident because Christy and I haven't sailed since the Wish, which was years ago at this point. But we booked it because a dear friend of our family and her kiddo moved to Bloomington, Indiana, and I have not gotten to see them for over a year. And we were like, you know what, let's do a spring break together. We were looking at different priced options. I was saying, you know, I've never tried Royal. Disney over spring break is like through the roof expensive. And so we were like, let's look at Royal. But y'all know I love a new ship. And so when I saw that Utopia was brand new and it was 4 days and it was going to be my friend's first ever cruise, it was like everything just sort of lined up. You know, first ever cruise, maybe I'll hate it sort of vibe. So I was like, well, a 4-night is good for that fear. And then, you know, I was getting to experience Royal for the first time and I was getting to do it on their newest ship. And so everything just sort of aligned for us to pick this cruise on the Utopia.
Awesome. And Amber, tell us about what sailing you booked.
We were on Adventure of the Seas, which is much, much older than the Utopia of the Seas. My kid's in 4th grade, so this is our 4th spring break in a row that we've cruised with friends. Honestly, a friend picked this cruise, so that's why we were on it. It was 6 nights on Adventure of the Seas out of Port Canaveral.
Well, let's get into it because we have quite a long list. So what we're going to do here is talk about these various categories that you can find around all the ships, and we will do a little compare and contrast, and each of our guests here besides for me will give their favorite on Royal versus Disney. So each category will basically have 3 points, 1 point awarded for each guest here, and at the end we will tally them up and see who wins out.
Cool.
So our first category is cabins. So discuss the cabin you each booked and how you feel like that compares to Disney.
Amber, you go first.
Okay, we had a balcony, and I should preface, I've been on 4 Royal Caribbean cruises, all different ships. So I'm kind of basing my rankings on the general 4 cruises. And I definitely have to give this to Disney. Royal's fine, nothing wrong, but the 2 bathrooms on Disney, for me, you know what I mean? The split bathroom on Disney has to win over any room on a Royal Caribbean. Well, not any room, maybe not Christy's fancy pants room, but so I'm giving my 1 point to Disney for the cabin.
I'm going to judge him on the regular cabins. And I was on the Utopia in a regular balcony cabin. I will say that the junior suite is huge on Royal Caribbean, and they would win if it was a comparison of a lower end suite category. So like the family veranda. There was a huge walk-in closet that my son made a fort. And even Celebrity doesn't have that big walk-in closet. This thing was like a cabin itself. Yeah, they would win. But obviously Disney wins in the cabin category. You know, their cabins were designed for families. There's so much storage. I was just on a Disney cruise also last week. And so I have a very recent comparison experience between Royal Caribbean and Disney wins for the cabins for sure.
And
Nova?
If we're talking just the average Disney, you know, dream, fantasy, magic, wonder cabin, I probably would give the edge to this Utopia cabin. It didn't have a split bathroom, but there's something about the way that they lay out that room that it's just wider. There's more room to walk around in. We had everyone in my party in my cabin at one point, and I just felt like also the balcony, we were in a balcony, just I guess I should have said that. We were in a balcony, but the balcony has these chairs that have a little stool that comes out from under them. You can put your feet up.
Yeah.
The couch was pretty comfortable. And then also, like lighted, it had a nice lighted mirror, an easy place to do makeup, floor to ceiling mirror, had a pretty nice TV. Like I would say if I were comparing it to the Magic or the Wonder or even the Dreamer Fantasy, the split bathroom isn't that important to me. However, the Wish cabin that I was in was beautiful and I loved it. And the bed was way more comfortable. Oh my gosh, the beds are way more comfortable than Royal.
Is bedding on this chart?
That's part of the cabin. So what I will say is like, if we're just looking at layout, I might say, oh, they're pretty even. But in terms of comfort and how well appointed Disney is, also they have these really nice sheets on Disney and they don't have those on Royal. And so I too will give the point to Disney, but I wouldn't say that that's like fleet wide, right? And also Amber was on an older ship. One thing I hear is that Royal never updates their rooms. And so Amber was probably in like a more ancient room. And whereas Disney, they do like soft good refreshes all the time in their dry docks. And so I don't know. I do give it to Disney, but I don't want you, if you're listening, trying to decide between the two, to think that, oh, if I go on a new Royal ship, it'll be a gross room. The rooms are actually very nice on the newer ships. So I say it's a little closer, but I do give the point to Disney.
Yeah, it is important to note that we can only compare our experiences. And of course, there are many, many more room types on Royal that you can compare and contrast in comparison to Disney. Some of those definitely have positives and some of those have negatives, just as a Disney room would too. So it is all with a grain of salt. Let's discuss ship layouts. Christy?
Ooh, Disney's tricky. Do we do like first 4 cruises or first 4 ships? No. Actually, I still think the ship layout is better on Disney because things are in a spot that you can figure out. To me on Royal, it's not. You can't always get across all the floors. So sometimes you have to go up and go around, especially on the Oasis class ships. On all of them, actually, I think. The casino's in the way. You have to work your way around that, especially if you're with a child and or you don't want to smell the smoke. So I give the nod to Disney.
We'll let Amber go.
All right. So Christy has made excellent points. However, I'm going to vote for Royal Caribbean. I'm going to give Royal Caribbean my point just because I love how most of them have a big old promenade where it's like deck 5, in air quotes, deck 5. The whole deck 5 is just one big walkway and it's 2 stories tall and it's like shops, restaurants, pizza, guest services. So yeah, Royal Caribbean's getting my point. Although to Christy's point, sometimes on the bigger ships you can't just go to deck 6 and walk all the way across because there's like a tree in the way or something.
Right. But not an actual space. It's like literally a hole.
Right. But I'm going to give Royal a point. Cut him some slack on this one.
And Nova?
Well, I've only been on one Royal ship, and I gotta say, I'm super impressed with the Oasis class. The promenade is easily the most cavernous, airy space I have ever been on in a cruise ship.
And it's inside.
It's inside. You literally could fill 4 or 5 of Disney's atriums in the promenade space. It's that big. And above the promenade is Central Park, which means there's like trees and natural light coming in and glass ceilings. It's like very, very beautiful. But it also feels like a mall. It sort of feels like the Mall of America. If Disney did it and they had that much space, in fact, we'll get to see what Disney would do with that much space because that big old ship in Singapore.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of like, let's figure out exactly what the difference is here. But they've got a jogging track that goes all the way around the ship. They have this like beautiful Central Park area, which is really nice and a little bit more quiet. They've got neighborhoods that really do feel like distinct spaces. And so if I were going to give any reluctant point where I'm like 50-50 to Royal, I might say that the layout of the Oasis class ship felt to me to be the most surprising and like fun to explore because you would go to a random ship. Like it was a debarkation morning that we found out they had this random music hall. Didn't know that existed.
If you had gone to trivia with my family, you would have known.
Listen, 4 nights on the second biggest ship in the world. If we're comparing Wish and Treasure to the Oasis class, I give it to Oasis class because the Wish and Treasure, that's some confusing layout sometimes. And like some things are a little bit out in a place that you don't expect. In fact, I take a point away from Disney just because they decided to put the Cove Cafe in Pluto, all the way the furthest planet from the sun. So that's why I'll give it to Royal on this one too.
All right. Moving on to our next section. Let's talk about the pool and pool deck areas. Christy?
I give another point to Disney, and I give it to them. It's tricky. It's a complicated answer because honestly, I like the slide, the little kid. First of all, I like the little kid area, the lower, more toddler area, especially on, I'm referring again to Oasis class ships. I don't even have to worry because I'm already giving the nod. I'm going to give the vote to Disney. I don't have to compare the toddler areas, but they're both good. And I like the little splashy pad thing that they have for kids also, but the smoke from a whole half of a ship permeates. So basically Royal Caribbean on these Oasis class ships have 2 large pools and large pool decks, but they have it divided in half where it's smoking on one half and non-smoking on the other, which means the non-smoking side is jammed and you can still smell the smoke. And so that is such a turnoff to me. The pools were so crowded, and I know Disney Kid Soup, right? I get that it's a thing and that they're super crowded, but especially if you're looking at the Wish class, there's all those little pools that you can go to. And so you can divide it up and you're not smelling smoke anywhere. So sorry, Royal, Disney wins.
And Nova?
Okay, well, one of these ships has the Dino District and the other one doesn't.
There
so
you go.
I'm obviously going to be voting for Disney on this one. I'm in my mid-30s to late 30s, and I am embarrassed to say this, but the Royal Pool Deck was so loud that I felt it in my bones. It was like uncomfortably loud to the point where I felt like I was going to have an anxiety attack, and I couldn't escape it. Everywhere we went, there was a speaker. I feel like they must be like the largest purchaser of speakers in the whole world, because there were about 70,000 on this ship. Not a good, fun, relaxing pool deck. Now, do they have a literal water park? Yeah. And do they have a lot of cool pools and things to look at? Sure. And they have a solarium, which Disney doesn't. And actually, the solarium on the Oasis class is excellent. But I still give Disney because we got Dino District and lots of fun little pools. Satellite Falls, if you're a dream or fantasy person. So I'll give it to Disney as well.
All right, Amber, you're up.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Christy about the smoking side. I kind of forgot about, you just walk over there on accident. You're just blasted with the smell of smoke. The ship I was on had like 4, maybe 3 or 4 hot tubs like in the pool area, versus Disney has like no hot tubs in the pool
Depending
area.
on the ship too. Literally
Yeah,
no hot
just-
tubs if you're on the Wish or Treasure and you're a
real.
family.
But yeah, I got to give it to Disney. Theming and cuteness and no smoking, and maybe this shouldn't count, but the funnel vision, I count that as a cool feature. And Royal did have a big old TV, but it just played like hilarious like cat videos all day.
Oh, you
Or,
must
like,
have loved
people
that.
falling off trampoline videos. So it's fun, but I love a good funnel vision movie.
I'm not going to lie. I really thought that this one was going to be more of like a tough decider, because you see, as someone who hasn't cruised Royal, you see these pans of their pool decks. You see all the pools. You've got the surf side or the surfing sim, which you may not be including in this. All of this available. I'm like, okay, that seems pretty cool. And for you to all like decisively say Disney still, when again you have issues like not enough hot tubs, especially on the Wish and Treasure, and on some ships not quite enough pools, or some interesting decisions on how they laid out pools. It is very interesting to see that you all leaned towards Disney on this one.
Oh, no, we're just going to go right to elevators, because also a hilarious category. And I have opinions, but I would like to hear Amber's first, because Amber was on a different class of ship.
All right, Amber, tell us about elevators.
I mean, Disney's elevators aren't that bad. I do like how the non-Wish and Treasure have 3 elevator banks, whereas I think every Royal ship I've been on has had 2 elevator banks.
Yeah, regardless of the size of the ship.
However, Royal also has like a left and a right one, if that makes sense. So if you're in the forward side, there's actually 2 elevators in the front, and more of them are clear. Also, Royal sometimes, not the ship I was on, but sometimes they have this dude who has a piano that's on wheels, and he's just in your elevator playing some tunes. So Not that Disney's elevators are bad, but I'm going to give Royal the elevator point.
Nova.
Same, actually. I think that we were on a sold out cruise, Utopia, like a very, 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 very crowded cruise. And I think Disney would have handled a crowd that size worse. Like I've waited longer for an elevator on a Disney ship. So yeah, no.
6 minutes though.
I mean, 6 minutes is exorbitant. I'm not saying it isn't, but like also think about Disney after a show. A show gets out, the elevator bank is just 300 or 400 people. And if you're on the very top deck and you can't take the stairs for whatever reason, then like you're just literally sitting there waiting for 20 minutes for that elevator area to clear out. So to me, Royals, because there are elevators on either end of the Royal Promenade. So if you're on that deck and you get out of a theater show, you could just walk across the Royal Promenade to another bank of elevators. And what Amber's saying is true about how there are only 2 places on the ship to find elevators, but there are technically 4 different systems where you call the elevators. So if everybody disperses amongst the 4 different systems, I guess we could also say this is one of the inconveniences of cruising, is that there are times when you do have to wait to get where you want to go because they just don't handle the crowds super well.
I give my points to Disney. They had the elevator system on the Utopia where you go up to the bank, sort of like Coronado. You press the button and it tells you which elevator to go to, A, B, C, or D, which cracks me up because I almost always fail to remember to look at the elevator bank and then I have to figure out where I'm supposed to go. The other issue I had, besides waiting 6 minutes on multiple occasions to get an elevator, is that children were using it as a theme park and were pressing all the buttons repeatedly so that they can get to their friends on a certain elevator bank and playing some game, which made the system even worse. I feel like security should be on this list, which it's not, but I felt like no security, the Royal Caribbean ship, to say anything to the teenagers that were kind of doing a little bit of crazy behavior. And there were so many times where I'd be in an elevator going up or down and we'd stop at deck 15 and like 12 people would try to get on when the elevator was already full, because you have to press the button and everybody is going to A, but it doesn't know how many people are going to A, and you have people with 6 people in their party going into the same elevator bank. It, to me, was a big miss and didn't work well on a sold out cruise with larger families traveling together.
All right. Well, this was still a win for Royal, interestingly, for elevators. Let's go ahead and talk about adult areas. Nova, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah. Okay. So this is actually really hard for me because Disney has less adult areas, but they do them better, or they do them more in my style. So like, one, the adult areas on Royal are loud as they could possibly be, and there's not a very relaxing place, truly. It's hard to find a quiet place on that ship.
Minus the solarium.
But even the solarium had like unusually loud music the one time I went there. And I was just like, why? Why isn't it just like tranquil spa music?
Seth said it was really hot too the day.
Oh yeah, they kept that thing cooking. So there are more adult areas on a Royal ship.
What were the adult areas? That was going to be my question, is what areas would have been deemed specifically for adults only besides the casino?
Before you answer that, I will say let's lump bars into this because I think that makes the most sense. And I would also love to get all of your thoughts on the theming comparisons as well.
Yeah, so I guess that is what I'm saying, Christy, is like it's bars, specialty restaurants. And I know kids are allowed to go to the specialty restaurants on Royal. So it's not like they are without children, but there are way more specialty restaurants, way more bars, way more venues. And so everything sort of feels like alcohol is involved and adults could go there. You're right that there are like adult restrictive areas on both ships that are probably pretty similar, except Disney's never done a solarium. When I look at Disney's adult areas, they are like some of my greatest memories, my most fun memories, my most like cherished memories. And I don't have anything like that from this last 4-day cruise. Like, I'm not sitting there like, oh, that Italian restaurant was one of the best meals I've ever had. So for all those reasons, I'm going to say Disney wins in the adult area. And then, like, to the question you tacked on about theming, Disney also wins. It's so much more fun and creative. Like, Royals added this new bar on Utopia called the Pesky Parrot. And apparently there's an animatronic bird in that place, but I never saw it. And I did a little walkthrough. There's just not a lot of like memorable theming on the Royal ship. It's just sort of like an Irish bar, a pub that's not Irish, whatever. They have like a Crown and Anchor thing that's like it's sort of like Disney's
Oh yeah,
attempt at
that ship bar.
Yeah, they have a sports bar. They've got stuff that Disney doesn't, I guess, but Disney's adult stuff is just like, it's special in a way that I feel like is not the same for me on Royal.
Let's go to Amber.
I had an answer, and then Nova maybe talked me out of my answer. I think I'm going to give Royal the point on this one, although this is not on theming at all. Zero theming. On the ship I was on, it was literally called Pool Bar, and it was called Champagne Bar, so just a space with a bar. But I think Royal had so much more of them, and they were so much bigger, and I was on a tiny ship. And then the adult pool is just, in my opinion, 1,000 times better. I've been on Royal ships where it's indoors, so it's like a greenhouse. And then the latest ship I was on, it was outdoors, but it's just huge. So nothing against Disney and their awesomely themed adult areas, but I'm going to give Royal my point for this one.
It's tricky to answer. Also, I'm never good at picking my favorites ever. It's tricky because the adult district, the fan on the original 4 ships, I really enjoy, and I enjoy that it's an area. And frankly, I don't feel like there's a real proper adult area on the Treasure and the Wish. I love those ships, but definitely can't count the adult only pool area on the Wish because it's small and kind of garbage, and the coffee bar is too far away, and there's zero place to have a quiet moment outside on the Wish where you're not, or the Treasure where you're not hearing the Aquamouse. I want to be able to sit outside and enjoy some peace and quiet without being exactly in the bar at the end, like by the little pool on the Wish class, or hear Minnie Mouse, whom I love. Like Amber said, the bars, to me, I do love how many there are, how big they are. Wouldn't really call them adult areas on Royal because I don't really, like, children are allowed in them up until I go to bed. So to me, it's children are in them all the time anyway. So, but I still give it to Royal.
Interesting. I actually would have thought that one would have gone the other way. I will say the lack of theming to bar areas is not inclusive to Royal. That's a pretty standard mass market sailing, is that they have a ton of bars, and it's very much, this is the whiskey bar, this is the wine bar, whatever, type of alcohol. And they have a ton of those, but it is all very much like, okay, this is what a whiskey bar looks like. And that doesn't mean that they aren't good, like many of them are, but they're just very much, this is the type of bar. It's themed to be that type of bar. Let's go in and talk about drink packages and included drinks. Royal, of course, offers drink packages, while Disney is strictly a la carte. But Disney also includes a lot more things, especially on the soft served side. You get your sodas included. You get quite a bit more included, but all of your alcohol is pretty much going to be a la carte. So what is all of your thoughts on the included versus beverage package, and which do you prefer?
Well, one thing we should say is that on Royal, it is not very much more to include a soda package if you want it. For the 3 or 4 months before your cruise, every day you get an email from them that's like, beverage packages, 40% off today, 30% off today, 20% off today, 5% off tomorrow. And so it's like, if you catch it on the lowest end day that you can get unlimited sodas for like $10 a day or something like that. And when you think about like the grand scheme cost of the cruise, that's like, if that's an important add to you, then like you could make a Royal ship and a Disney ship have the same included things where it's like, everybody can have soda if they want.
And you can get that soda anywhere as opposed to the limited places that you can get the soda included on a Disney cruise. Like if you're at a bar and you order a Coke, it's not included on a Disney
Right.
ship.
I forgot about that. Is it included at dinner?
It is included at all the restaurants on the pool deck, but it is not included like in front of the movie theater, at the bars, in room service.
This is like a silly thing to mention, but the Royal soda package gives you a pretty cool cup to refill.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's kind of
The
cute.
Coke.
I kind of liked it. I mean, we didn't do it, but I saw kids running around with it and I was like, that's kind of cute. And so, like, I do think, you know, Royal and Disney could be pretty neck and neck if it was just the soda. For me, unlimited beverage packages have never been worth it because I don't drink alcohol. And so, I don't know. I think it doesn't super matter. I will say I was surprised by how expensive the drinks were on Royal. Like Royal has like lots of $15, $16, $17 cocktails, which is what I'm used to in Los Angeles for bars, but was surprised to see on a cruise ship because Disney prices a lot of cocktails since they don't have beverage packages down in that like $9 to $13 range, depending on what you're getting. And so that would be one thing I would say is like, unless you just love to drink 15 drinks a day or whatever, Disney is probably where I would personally prefer, but it's up in the air.
It's interesting that you say there was a lot of $15, $16, or $17 drinks because Royal's drink package, I think, only goes up to $14. So if you have a drink package, your drink has to be under $14 or $15. Now, with that being said, I never hit a limit of any drink I went to order. So we didn't have the drink package, but I am going on a girlfriend's cruise on the new Star of the Seas in August for a short 3-night cruise. And my one friend and I are going to get the drink package because it's like we're buying it for one person and it's fine. It's a 3-night cruise. But because of the status that I have, because of celebrity, I am diamond on Royal Caribbean. I get 4 drinks a day and everybody in my household does as well. So like Dave gets 4 drinks a day, Blake gets 4 drinks a day. So we were fine. But let's say I was paying for the drink package. It's kind of fun. It also produces people that drink too much environment, but it is kind of fun to occasionally be able to say all my cocktails are paid for and I'm living my best life. Because especially when we've done friends cruises on Disney, my bar bill, I think, was higher than if I would just pay for drinks separately. And so I give that nod to Royal. I like the option to purchase it. My only beef is that like Dave doesn't drink alcohol at all. And so we would have to like call and beg and say, can only one of the adults in the room have the drink package? And then sometimes they would let you because, you know, people ruin it for everybody else and people are sharing drink packages and stuff like that. So that's a problem because like I wouldn't, it would be of no benefit to me to have 2 adult alcoholic drink packages because Dave doesn't drink.
Yeah, that's why we never get the package either because I don't drink and my husband drinks beer. So for us, it makes more sense for him to just like buy a few beers. I can't go last anymore because you guys keep talking me out of my answers. I have an answer all ready to go. Well, it was kind of Disney because I do like the free soda, but the soda's like not that good on Disney. Is anybody like, it just tastes weird.
The drink machine on my fantasy cruise on the pool deck was constantly broken. You'd push the button for water and nothing would come out, or a beverage at all, nothing would come out. And they were constantly fixing it. I would push the button for water and lemonade would come out and there'd be like no place to get water on the pool deck on the fantasy. Poor fantasy. Need a little assistance. So yeah, I give you that.
Yeah, I'm going to give my point to Royal because number one, it might be off topic, but the perks Christy was talking about, you can get tons of free drinks with your perks. I'm at the perk stage where I get 2 half-price drinks. So that's not bad. To Nova's point, if you hit the drink package at the right time, it's like half price. And we've been buying the refreshment package for my kid, which means she gets the soda cup. She also gets bottles of water, bottles of Powerade, and then like roofie, you know, frozen like pina coladas, wherever. Like she can go to a bar and get a kid pina colada and then share it with me. So yeah, I'm going to get my point to Royal, long story short. Although I do like how you can bring your own beer onto Disney. That was
that's true.
pulling me towards Disney, but I'm still going to give Royal a point.
This is definitely a difficult one because it is not apples to apples. I will say on Nova's point of the pricing is typically ships that have a drink package price their drinks higher because they want you to feel like you're getting your value out of that, because they don't really care about selling the a la carte drinks. They want to sell you the package and wrap up all your money at one time and be done with it.
One thing that did happen on Royal, this is a funny thing about Royal. We ordered virgin margaritas for $7 when the music destroyed my soul all of a sudden at the pool party. And Seth got a happy hour margarita for $1 less than our virgin margaritas. So I literally almost was like, hey, we would like the happy hour margarita without alcohol, because like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? So like that sort of thing is just like, when the pricing is really all, to Lake's point, pushing you towards buying one of those beverage packages, I'm like, then let's just do it like Disney does it and everybody just buy what they want. Like, I get what Christy's saying, where it's like, yeah, but sometimes my bar tab is huge. But since that's not why I cruise, I'm like selfishly like, let's make it like Disney then, where everybody's on the same playing field. So yeah, now I do care, Lake, and I'm firmly in Disney's camp.
I mean, I'm in Disney's camp too, because every time I've sailed on something mass market with a drink package, I've had the drink package. I get like 3 days into it and I don't even like drink hard. And I'm like, okay, I'm good. Water it is for the rest of the trip.
But I like that you can get specialty coffees and, things like that too.
Well, why don't we move into coffee then? And this will include any of your coffees on the ship.
I have to go first because I have the most opinions about not included coffee. So if you have good not included coffee, I will pay for it. Christy knows this. If you have bad not included coffee, I will pay for it, because I think that whatever that crap that they serve for free on every cruise ship out of their like coffee dispensary is like one coffee bean that has been put into a tank of water for 72 years and that you're drinking it from the tap in that way. So I'm always going to the ship's not free coffee options. And so Cove Cafe, fine. I mean, I wouldn't even say their coffee is that great, though they do have a Japanese cold brew system, which I love. I think it produces really great coffee. In fact, I love it so much that we got the brand of it and we bought it when we came home. So I would say Cove Cafe is good. However, because of that stupid thing where your brain likes familiarity and likes to drink coffee and recognize the taste right away, if your ship has a Starbucks on it, I'm probably going to like that better because it's like the coffee I'm used to. I know the exact amount of caffeine in it. I know the flavors I like and the order that I would get. And so I would give it to Royal because on the promenade deck, they had a Starbucks. And I just ran down and ordered a Starbucks every day. And also NCL does Starbucks. So like if you're a ship that has that, for me personally, I guess it's like a creature comfort, to reference Animal Kingdom. And it feels like a familiar cup of coffee that I like. And that's where I would give the point. No shade on Cove Cafe. Obviously, I love coffee at the Cove, but Starbucks, I guess, wins.
I still don't know if I can formulate an answer. I like that on Royal, if you have a drink package, you can get your coffee at the Promenade Cafe. I, though, like the buy 5 coffees and get one included on Disney with your coffee card. Is it 5? I think it's 5. And that you can take the coffee card back. I actually found I brought 4 coffee cards because I had 2 and found 2 more when I was packing for my Royal or my Disney cruise 2 weeks ago. So I got to get on with free coffee. I think for paid for coffee, I like that there are more places to get paid for coffee on Disney, especially if you're talking about the Wish Treasure ships, right? Like you just hop out in the middle of most, those main grand hall decks and shoot over to the coffee. So I'm giving it to Disney.
So I don't drink coffee. So I was going to just take your answers and steal it. But since you guys are 50-50,
you could just not vote for that.
I just might not vote. I know Royal does have like a coffee package. Like,
oh, do they?
Package, but it's a coffee package because my husband got that one cruise. And to Nova's point, they have a Starbucks. However, the line was always atrocious. Again, this is my tiny ship. So yeah, I think I'll pass
That is definitely okay. I'm all right with abstaining from answers where it's appropriate. Well, we have talked about drinking. Let's go ahead and talk about dining. I am going to keep this separated the way it is. We will discuss main dining, the buffet, as well as specialty options. Actually, let's talk about the buffet first, because how many of us get on a ship and head right up that elevator? Not Christy, we know, but we go and explore that buffet.
Amber.
I will go first because this is the easiest Royal Caribbean point I've ever given in my whole life. It's massive. It's just massive. I mean, it's buffet food, but I'll call it delicious. And it's just huge. You can always find a table. Whereas on Disney, I don't think you can always say that. So that's an easy Royal. Oh, and also it's open all the time. Dinner.
Mhm.
It's open for dinner. It's open for lunch. It's open for breakfast.
Every
Easy
day
Royal
of the
Caribbean
cruise.
Windjammer point.
But what about deck food? Deck food is that going with buffet, I think, right? That makes it more
I
complicated.
would count that with buffet because I would say on most mass market, it's kind of lumped into the buffet. A lot of times you have the buffet, and then at the entrance of the
They have
buffet is where your grill deck food is going to be.
Yeah, good point. My ship had 0 deck food. It was just all buffet.
And what ship was it? The Wonder? Did this ship have an outside, or was that a whole different cruise line with an outside like taco bar? Not
That was
like
Royal. My ship didn't have the
Okay.
taco bar, but Royal often does have a delicious taco bar.
I think I'm going to preface this by saying when I cruise a cruise line other than Disney, they try to make me eat off of the buffet. With my celiac disease, that is not a smart choice. You should never eat where there's a chance of cross contact with gluten containing items. And not everybody is perfectly putting their food on their plate, that they're not touching other food with the same utensils. And it bugs me that they try to get me to eat off of the buffet and I have to do a whole explanation. Disney does not make me do that. I just say, this is what I want, and they get it to me from the back. The all-day buffet option and the massive options, the different options that you can get, Royal wins slightly. So we're just giving it to Royal because Disney's deck food is superior. Like, give me Donald's Cantina all day long. But I don't understand why we haven't opened that buffet more on Disney Cruise Line. So Royal.
Yeah, I hate a buffet. Do not like. I don't enjoy eating food that way. I don't enjoy feeling like I have to curate my palate for myself and decide like how much real estate I want to give to each thing on my plate. And so I would say Disney's buffet to me feels like lower quality food, and it always has. Like whenever people talk about, how great the food is at the buffet, I'm like, okay, it feels like not as good as even wedding food, but sure. However, the deck food on Royal was abysmal to me, like did not enjoy. On our ship, Amber, they had this thing that was like supposed to be like a food truck, but it was like if you took all the food that they serve at 7-Eleven on that little spinny thing, it was that food. Where it was like grab and go pepperoni taquitos and stuff like that. So that wasn't very good. I think Donald's Cantina was better than El Loco Fresh. They don't even have a barbecue option on Royal, and they did, of course, on Disney. And so because I think the deck food is so much better on Disney, I'm going to give the point to Disney. Though Royal has a perfectly passable free pizza place.
Oh, that's good.
Sorrento's or whatever. It's perfectly good pizza. Like not blow you out of the water good, but like pretty good. Whereas I only like the Disney pizza that's on the new ships. The old ships where they're using those like cardboard pucks and then throwing some pizza sauce on them, not my jam. But on the new ships, they use fresh dough and it's delicious.
Yeah, I will say on some of the newer, larger ships that have the larger buffets, you also get a lot more variety in like your different sections, where Disney might have one rotating section each day. The Royals and Norwegians will have like an Indian section all day, every day. And they might have, an Asian section all day, every day, or even like a noodle bar of some sort. So that variety. But I think the biggest point is the fact of the buffet being open later, or even like just the availability outside of main dining, specialty dining is like a huge win for the mass market. Well, let's keep the dining talk going and move into main dining. Now, two very different concepts because, again, Disney pushes you towards that main dining because they have really curated that experience. Whereas a lot of times on mass market, it's very much come if you want. We prefer you spend money for specialty or you have some sort of specialty included. But that is of my own opinion in which I am not voting. So I'm going to start with Christy this time since she continues to not want to be picked first.
Okay, so another complicated answer for me because, like, for example, my last cruise, I did not eat on Royal True Main Dining at all because I ate at the Coastal Kitchen for 3 meals a day for every day of my cruise, and it was delightful. And that is their sweet kitchen. They did a really great job of having gluten-free options, but if I am comparing, because like I said, I've had these main dining experiences on Royal Caribbean. The food to me is better on Disney. I will say that on my fantasy cruise, which also I had to eat at the middle of the night. I don't know how you late dining people do it. We had 8:15 dinner and it was late. And so as a result, I only ate an entree like once because I made salads my dinner. I think the first set of menus that are on the original 4 ships are no longer my favorites anymore. Like, I think they used to be, I used to enjoy them better, but looking at them from the 8:30 p.m. appetizer and salad course, it's brought them down. And only having those 3 menus, where you rotate through the animators and the Royal Court / whatever other name it's called in every other ship, and Enchanted Garden, I don't know. Except that overall, I think Royal's included dining options, the food quality is not as high as Disney's. And in terms of my allergy, Disney is more willing to make exceptions or make food gluten-free for me that otherwise might not be. And Royal sometimes has a hard time with that. Like, you need a longer cruise where you finally get to work with your dining team a little bit more until they're like, okay, yeah, we'll go to the chef and actually just ask them to make this gluten-free. And so Disney's just like, they just do it. You just order it and it comes out the next day. So Disney wins, even though my experience might have been slightly disappointing on my last cruise on Disney.
Some of the food I got in the main dining room wasn't like great, but if it was served at your wedding, I would tell you, like, give me your caterer's number. It's so good. It was fine. It was like okay food. To me, it puts Royal and Disney's main dining pretty similar because that's also how I feel about Disney's main dining, where I'm kind of like, I don't know that I've ever in a main dining had like the most unforgettable meal on Disney. There's certain things that Disney does that I love, like that fried brie, or I actually did have a really good meal in 1923 one time on Disney. And so I guess because Disney puts more of an emphasis on main dining with their rotational vibe, I'll give Disney the edge here, just because Disney has so few other dining options at night that you're very likely going to be eating main dining. On a Royal ship, if you never wanted to go into the main dining room, you would have a full week's worth of other options to go to. So for main dining, I'll give it to Disney.
Once again, Nova almost talked me out of my answer, but I'm going to give the point to Disney 100% on the theming of the restaurants. Royal's great. The food's great. Also because I've been on Disney like 15 times and I've eaten the same meal 15 times over the course of my life, whereas Royal's like new for me. The fact that I want to go to the restaurants because it's different, Disney. Easy point for Disney.
A win for straight Disney. Again, some of this comes back to their concepts and how they're different. Again, Disney really points you towards going to main dining for dinner, but then we have specialty restaurants, which is really where Royal wants you to be going. They want you to be upcharging for these specialty experiences, whereas Disney, so where you have Remy or Enchanté, which are a little bit restrictive if you're not an adventurous eater, and then Palo, you're lucky if you can get in, especially if you're a first-time cruiser. It is a lot more limited. So let's discuss the specialty restaurants.
I'm going to give this easy point to Royal strictly for the amount of options. Like, even my tiny ship had a Chops Grill, the sushi place, and there was one more and I didn't go to any of them. But just the fact that there's so many more options, and they also have a package where you can if it's your thing, you can probably save some money. So in my opinion, this is an easy point for Royal.
I am giving it to Disney because I have done specialty dining on Royal and I thought it was fine, but eating gluten-free, but even Dave has said that he has enjoyed like our Palo meals way more than he enjoyed Chops the last time we were on a cruise with Chops, or that we ate at Chops. Yeah, so, and it's quieter. I give it to Disney.
I would say one of the top 5 best meal memories in my life is that Palo dinner we all had on the Wish. And so I'll just give it to Disney. The thing is, Palo is a restaurant I literally look forward to every single time. And I've never been on another cruise where I'm like, I need to go to X restaurant. To me, it's like every mass market cruise line has a steakhouse. They all do. And the steak at those steakhouses will never be as good as the best steakhouses on land. But it's good steak, but whatever. But like that updated Palo menu, that's my favorite menu. I'm one of the ones who likes the updates. I know some people don't like the updated Palo menu, but to me, it's better that it's more like a steakhouse now. It's delicious.
I have been to Chops, and the time I went, it was amazing.
Like better than Palo?
Maybe. I don't know. It was so good. I'm not going to lie. I haven't been to the other places, but the fact that there's like the Asian cook in front of you option and, all these other there's a train. It's kind of crazy.
I will say I agree with Nova's point about the steakhouses, even with Palo. I think the steaks you get there still are like mid to high tier. Whereas like if you're going to a high tier steakhouse on land, you're going to get a high tier steak. But agreeing again with Nova, some of my best memories on the ships have come out of Palo, which makes it an easy win for me for sure. We are definitely not going to get to all of these. So I'm going to skip around and hit some of our big ones here before we wrap up the show. Let's talk about shows and entertainment.
I thought this would be the easiest category, but Royal knocked my socks off with that water show on the back of the ship. Like, so innovative, so much fun, a wild thing back in 2010 when they were building the first Oasis ship to be like, we are going to dedicate this huge amount of real estate on the ship to something that literally can't be used for almost anything else. And we don't know if it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, or if people are even going to care about it. But like that water show was so much fun. Figure skating, a figure skating show at sea, that's a novel idea. And that was also really cool. The production show that we saw had drones flying all around us inside of a ship. That's a wild thing.
Twice I've been to that show and have not made it to the end to see the drones. Now I would maybe show up at the end or later in the show. But to me, that show, I can't even watch it. Like I never make it to the end of it.
So yeah, what I was going to say though is that the narrative shows, if we're talking narrative entertainment, Disney wins hands down, 10 out of 10. But like also, I haven't been on a Royal ship that has like classic Broadway shows, right? There are Royal ships that have like Hairspray and that have, I think one of them has Wizard of Oz right now. There are a lot of narrative shows that Utopia just doesn't have. And so maybe I'd feel different if I could see a narrative show. But to me, because I like storytelling more, I would give it to Disney, though I will never not tell Disney that they need to stop having these 30-year-old women acting like 13-year-old children, because that is my pet peeve. When that little girl's like, Daddy, what's going to happen to your flower? I'm like, I don't care about this flower. I don't care about any of it. You are clearly a woman with children pretending to be 13, and I can't handle it. So yeah, for those reasons, though, I'll give it to Disney. I like a narrative show, but it is a lot closer than you would think it would be.
Disney? I got distracted for a second. I don't know how we came back around and you picked Disney. Shocking.
Because I like narrative shows, and they didn't have any narrative shows on Utopia. None. It was all like the greatest music. Yeah. Which it was super impressive. That's why I'm saying, to me, I didn't think Royal would come close here, and they came real close. But Disney has better narrative shows in my mind.
I have recently been saying that Moana But this is like the first cast, the first, Moana 1, whatever, right? The first set of people that could be picked up and placed on Broadway, and it would fit and everybody would think that this was a real Broadway show. And it's so wildly entertaining. And I see something new every time and it makes me cry. And it's right up there as my favorite show. I wonder though, if cast on the next month, they're going to be fine, but are they going to be the first set of Moana cast caliber? Not sure. But I will also, every time there's an Aqua show on a Royal Caribbean cruise, go to the Aqua show. And I don't, every time there's a show on Disney, go to the show. I give it to the Aqua show. If there is no Aqua show, Royal does not win. But because of the Aqua show, they win to me.
The Aqua show is stunning. And I also love the ice skating show. We went twice this last cruise. Same show. We just watched it twice. And to Nova's point, some of the Royal ships have like actual like Broadway shows. Like Mamma Mia was on one of my cruises, but we didn't go to it because it was so long. Like I have 3 hours to kill on this 3-day cruise. I thought this would be an easy Disney point just because of the production value alone. But man, Christy's got me thinking with Aqua and ice skating. I'm still going to give it to Disney. Point to Disney.
I can't believe how many points I'm giving to Royal.
I love it.
Actually, same. But also, I would lump in here like fireworks. Because if we're allowed to lump in the Aqua show, then we should also be lumping in like other forms of like shipwide entertainment, like fireworks at sea. And to my knowledge, Disney is still the only cruise line that does that.
Okay, why don't we do, I'm going to jump ahead a little too. Why don't we do private islands?
Sorry, I was doing some research because I was actually going to bring it into private islands next. Let's compare. What's interesting here is the comparison used to be Castaway, very classic beach day, or so we thought, compared to Coco, which was new and shiny. But now on the other end of that, we also have Lighthouse Point, which is new and shiny, but really leans into that beach day experience. And also, I believe not all of us have been to Lighthouse, correct?
I've never been.
Well, you can lump them together to pit them against Coco Cay. So let's discuss.
I will go first because this last cruise we went to Royal's first private island, which is Labadee, Haiti, and it was amazing. And I've for a while said I liked Coco better than Castaway, and I think I liked Labadee better than everything. So this might be controversial.
Why?
Why do I like Coco better than the other one?
Better than Coco.
It was more, I'll say, rustic, and the background was like mountainous. It was just beautiful. It reminded me of Hawaii. And there was like a beach here. Like there was these different beaches with different vibes and different scenery.
There wasn't a lot of umbrellas the last time I was there, but I was last there like maybe 10 years ago or something. So, or 8 years ago. Were there umbrellas and the beach chairs?
Yeah. And there were also a lot of trees.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm giving a easy point to Royal Caribbean. 1 point for both their private islands over Disney's private island.
Castaway is like my first love for private islands. And I've only ever been to one other private island, and that was Coco Cay. Coco Cay is big, a lot bigger, honestly, than the Disney islands. There's a massive pool that isn't heated, so it was cold. But there's a giant pool with a swim-up bar. There's that water park. I mean, it seems like they have full use of the land and they're doing a ton with it. But there's a lot of upcharges on the island, a lot of upcharges. There are 2 different private destinations on the island where you can only go there if you pay to go into them. There's like a beach club. At least. So there's a beach club for families. I think everyone can go to it, but you have to pay to get in. Then there's an adults only place, and you have to pay to get into that too. There is the water park, which is like $150, $170, some massive amount. And there's that hot air balloon that's like $75, $100. And then there are cabanas and private little beach beds and things like that everywhere. Like the amount of money that they make on that island alone is staggering because there's so many upcharges. But if you didn't do any of the upcharges, I would say that it's almost identical to Castaway because they have kid splash areas, they have playthings, they have private beach, or they have beaches for you to lay on, they have a barbecue meal. So I don't know. I guess for the amount of things to do, I'll give it to Royal because if you wanted to have an extra magical day, you could pay a lot and do things like stay in an overwater bungalow. And Disney doesn't have stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Mine goes to Disney. There's less smoking. I really didn't like just the smoking element in more places. And I can keep my answer short. I find it to just be a little bit easier to navigate. So Disney wins. And Lighthouse Point has the most gorgeous beach ever.
With talking about the upcharges to Coco, that's also surge price depending on what ship is in there. Because in most simplistic terms, let's say the water park holds 20 people. If you have a ship that has 100 people versus a ship that has 400 people, they're basically going to say, okay, we know a less percentage of you want to go, so today it's only $40. Whereas if a massive ship is in and...
There's always a massive ship, though. That's the other disadvantage. There's always a large ship and a smaller ship. And on my Star of the Seas cruise that I have coming up in all of those little previews, there are going to be 2 of the largest cruise ships at sea. How is that going to work? I've had problems finding beach chairs at Coco before. Now, I think Coco is great, first of all. And I really like that Hideaway, but it's an extra charge. I was able to experience that for free by Royal once. Even the water park thing in the middle that's an extra charge, I was also hosted into that water park once. And I am clearly not doing any of those dumb slides because I am not a slide person, but there was like a really cool ropes course. There's wave pool in there. So there's some cool things if somebody wants to spend the money on that. Yeah, it's like too crowded. It's too people-y.
All right. We have time for maybe just a couple more quick ones. One that maybe we don't need to elaborate on too much is kids clubs.
Disney.
Yeah.
Blake said he never wants to go on the Royal Caribbean Kids Club again, which is, I don't know why necessarily. Amber, did your daughter go into the kids? Yeah.
No, it's also like not even, it's open like 2 hours here, 2 hours there. It's like you got to schedule your life around their time. So yeah, that's an easy Disney win.
Another really easy one, so Disney wins the Kids Club, is the pool towels. On Royal, you have to give your key card, you have to return it, or you charge $25.
It's the most stressful thing of my life. I'm scared I'm going to lose a pool towel.
Bring your own, Amber. We should just remember to bring our own pool towels. But Disney wins by 1 million.
I honestly was going to skip that one. I was like, there's no way we need to talk about pool towels. And I did not realize that on Royal, it's like a hassle and a rental and bargain system. So that is...
Literally on Royal, I was like, who hurt you? Who took your towels? Because they are so serious about it. And the towels have RFID chips sewn into them.
Stop it right now.
No.
Yes.
What? Well, if they did that, then what do they need us to return them for? They should be able to track them themselves.
One more that I think is a layup in Royal side. And this is honestly, they have more ships. They have to go more places, which means Royal gives you a wider variety of ports to sail to.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Easy. This last cruise I just did, we went to 2 new places I've never been before. And it was just out of Port Canaveral. Nothing crazy. Yeah, easy Royal win.
Drill. That's an easy Royal Caribbean win, too. You watch a video, you walk up, you find out where your muster station is. It's a scan. It's a come here if there's an emergency. I mean, they did have to make that announcement 14 times and say the ship will not sail if you don't show up for your muster station. Yeah, Royal wins.
Can I give that 100 points?
Am I right? Like standing in the sun to whatever.
I am going to put us into 3 more. We are going to discuss loyalty programs.
Okay.
We're going to discuss pricing and price modeling. And then Christy gets to give a bonus point for concierge experience.
Okay. I'll make it quick, but...
So let's go ahead and discuss loyalty
we cannot
programs.
skip number 2, though. So, Lake, I want 3 minutes at the end because I need to know why Amber included number 2 on this chart.
Number 2 will be a bonus point. All right. Loyalty programs. Let's do it.
I have no experience with Royal's loyalty program. This was my first time on their ship and I got no special treatment. So I don't really care. I do have some status on Disney because of how many cruises I've been on. I think I'm like one away from platinum. So I guess I would give it to Disney for me personally. I know some people don't like that short cruises and long cruises count as 1 point equally on Disney, but I don't care about that. So I'll give it to Disney. And I like the perks on Disney. I like walking into your cabin and getting a gift. That's fun. I like that they give you Palo for free. I like that they change the color of your key card and all that stuff. So I'll give it to Disney.
Dang it, Nova, I can't go after you because you always change my answer. Because I was going to give an easy win to Royal just because I've taken a lot of short cruises and I got to platinum that way. But whereas on Royal, it's per night you spend on the ship. So it does make it more fair. I'm still giving an easy point to Royal because for some reason, it's like family points. Like my husband took a cruise by himself and now we got some more family points. And I feel like the perks on Royal are way better. Well, I do like my Castaway gifts, but like I said, the status that Christy's at where you get 4 free drinks a day, like that's crazy.
And it's family points, so we all get it. Right.
Yeah. So,
and we get 1 internet device a day. So for like a 4-day cruise, my family can be set on the internet.
Like Nova said, I like the gifts. I don't need a 4th Mickey towel. You know what I mean? So easy.
They're quality. The Disney gifts are high quality.
No, you're right.
But,
and then I just give them away though, because I don't need.
I know.
Funds.
No, I know. I give them away too. So my point goes to Royal because honestly, 4 drinks a day, internet a day. There's some other perks in there, different ones that I would use if I'm not in a suite, but I like Disney's program, but I think Royals is better. And it can be used within the other lines, which is how I got it in the first place.
All right, then let's go into my last full category here, pricing. And I think this one could go either way because I do occasionally look at Royal sailings. And honestly, sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I don't know that that's really that much of a value comparatively when we look at Disney.
Yeah, I think people are way oversimplistic on pricing sometimes, where like they don't realize that because there are more Royal ships, you could find cheap Royal cruises. But depending on what's important to you, it is the exact same price as Disney or more expensive. So like, for example, I really wanted to go on Icon over Utopia. I was like, it's the biggest ship in the world. If I'm going to try Royal for the first time, I want to try Icon. The Icon cruises were like, for my family of 4 to be able to go, were like $7,000 for a boardwalk interior balcony room.
Oh my gosh.
And that was just wild to me. I get that per person, that's what, like $250 a day or something. But I'm like, dang, that's a lot. And I could go on a Disney cruise, maybe not on the Treasure, but I could go on a Disney cruise for that amount as well. So it really depends on like what's most important to you. And mind you, that was the Icon during spring break. But then I added up how much we actually paid for 4 nights Utopia. And I'll just say here for the record, we had guaranteed balconies. So we didn't even know where we would end up. We were lucky and we ended up with ocean view balconies. But for guaranteed balconies on Utopia for 4 nights, it was $2,200 a cabin. So $4,400. So actually, if it had been 3 nights longer, it probably would have been $7,000 anyway. And so the Utopia and the Icon are charging about the same right now. Now, I've gone on Disney Dream cruises that are 4 nights that are in that same price range. So to me, they don't actually have a huge edge. Now, I do think, Amber, you could probably point to on an older ship that the prices are way more affordable. But because to me, I was prioritizing newness and I wanted to go on a new ship, it's about the same cost as Disney for me, for my family. So
yeah, that's a good point.
For that reason, like I will give it to Disney because more is included on Disney than on Royal for about the same price.
I do like how I can get on I can pay more for a Disney ship, but then like not have to worry about buying things or losing a towel or whatever. But I've only gone on Royal because the price is so low. And for me, we go every spring break and it's not my dream vacation. It's just like having fun on spring break with friends. So yeah, my husband booked this cruise. Actually, Christy booked it. Christy can tell me what I paid, but probably for the three of us in one room, 2,000 total. And this was for 6 nights. I might be making that up completely, but yeah, you can easily get on a Royal cruise. This is spring break, but even in the off times, we can go for under $2,000 as a family of 3.
I can tell you that my 4-night on the Fantasy a week before our spring break trip, was 3,400-ish, 3,500. So there you go, 4 nights and a balcony. Yeah, I guess I'm going to stay out of the pricing game because honestly, I almost wish this last question was, what would you pick? And so for me, I picked Disney. If I'm like picking which cruise I'm picking, it's Disney.
The mass market sailings that I have done, I have never not gotten off and been like, I do wish I had sailed Disney. Not that I may not have enjoyed the sailing immensely.
Right.
But I've almost always had something on board where I was like, this would not have happened on a Disney ship.
Like 100%.
The glassware, the people leaving their bar glasses in the elevator corner and then them staying there for hours and hours. Yeah, so I agree. So you got to remember that Disney is a premium cruise line. Other premium cruise lines are Virgin, Celebrity, and they have a higher level of either both inclusions and quality of food and quality of bedding and just things like that. The Royal, Carnival, NCL, those are mass market contemporary cruise lines, and they are more of a lower price in theory to get you in the door. Lake is Dying podcast is so long, but this is what happens. I knew it was going to be long as soon as we did a comparison show. The concierge. Now, the ship in the ship experience, I really do enjoy on Royal. Like, I loved that we had a coastal kitchen that was not themed, I guess, in the main dining room, because somebody put it in our cruise group. There was like the Macarena or something was going on. None of that occurred in the coastal kitchen. The coastal kitchen service was amazing. It was smaller. The coastal kitchen has beer and wine included for your sit-down meals. And it has an open bar, just like Disney, from like 5 to 8 or something like that. I never made it to the top hour of that, 5 to 9. So there is a lot of opportunities for drinks to be included. They have a little pool deck out there, but I love the little ship within the ship concept, but I missed maybe out on some of the other things. But the service on Disney, the luxury level on Disney, if you will, is higher. And so Disney wins, like, where everybody's calling you by your first names, the sheets. The sheets are even better than the regular sheets on Disney. Like, how can that even be? So anyway, like, what is the final score?
Well, Amber has one more bonus point that she is going to award for public restrooms that had to be number 2 in the discussion panel.
On this list. Why, Amber, did public restrooms make it on your chart?
Because every Royal Caribbean public restroom was so gross.
Oh,
every single one. Again, maybe it was the older ship I was on. But even previous ships, it's like, this is gross. I didn't mean to put it as number 2 on the list, but number 2, public restrooms, easy point for Disney.
I think the Utopia didn't have such a bad public restroom experience. And it had like those automatic door openers, which was nice to get in and out. I didn't have to touch a door. And on the Treasure specifically, Disney wants you touching every one of those doors. Like, there's no way to open a door, and they're heavy. But also, really quick bonus question: why is Stateroom TV on this list, Amber?
Because Royal just has garbage choices.
I agree. That was the worst selection of films or options that I've ever experienced on a cruise ship. And that includes Carnival, Norwegian. If you want to watch a movie on Royal, you have to pay for it. All of them cost money. There are no included films, except there's one included film, and it's about how Royal Caribbean isn't destroying the oceans, and they're actually doing good by nature. So for all those reasons, Disney wins. And we just stayed at Disney World, and now you can link up your Disney Plus account, so you can watch essentially anything you want on the Disney World TVs.
But you can't do that on the Disney ship, because I just did watch TV on the Disney ship, and they didn't even have their whole movie connected.
The Disney
Watch
ship
them.
might not have the entire catalog, but they always have like
They have
good
movies. They have a good
100
selection.
movies. Yeah.
This isn't apples to apples. We are talking about a mass market cruise line versus a premium cruise line. And also a lot of different experiences that we ran out of time to talk about. You know, I can only cover so many things in this almost 2-hour long show. So with that, we do have Disney at 31 points and Royal at 25 points.
Ooh.
That's
I was
closer than a lot of
worried that Royal was going to win.
I was not worried that Royal was going to win. What I think's important is what this really says is, yes, you know, Disney is the premium offering. Disney does better in some categories. Royal does better in others. As for talking about family sailings, like you can have a great experience on either of these. There is
That's true.
something there for you and your family on either of them. And one of them may be more right for your family than the other one. And that does not necessarily have to be Disney. As Amber has said, spring break, that is quick and easy thing for their friend group to go and do. I'll tell you right now, you know, me and my buddies have talked about doing like a friend cruise, and I guarantee you there is not a chance in heck that I will be able to get them to pay Disney pricing. It's, you know, there is something there for everyone, and that might be one of those other cruise lines or one of the other premium cruise lines as well. You know, there's a reason that all of these products exist and are successful.
Okay, but what I do have to say, like, is that my next booked cruise is on the brand new Virgin Voyages ship that's sailing out of Los Angeles next April, maybe. And I would love to do a Virgin Voyages versus Disney comparison, especially because I've only ever been on Disney as an adult. And so to me, I don't think of it as a kid ship. And so I'd love to compare like an adult only premium cruise line to Disney and see how they stack up.
This was fun, though.
Well,
Yeah.
Amber, Nova, thank you both so much for coming on and sharing your thoughts and experiences on Royal Caribbean and Disney Cruise Line.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was a lot of fun. I've missed you all.
We've missed you too.
Nice to meet you, Nova, for the first time.
Yeah, I know. Nice to meet you too.
Well, Amber, where can our listeners follow you?
I am a big fan of Instagram. I'm amber.likes.stuff on Instagram.
And Christy, where can our listeners follow you?
I am at Peck Your Pixie Dust all over the internet.
And you can follow me at MouseGen on Instagram and YouTube. But that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Well, that's going to wrap up the show. Once again, we want to thank Nova and Amber for coming on and helping compare and contrast Royal Caribbean and Disney Cruise Line. If you're enjoying the show, we greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'd also like to thank our Patreons who help make this show happen each and every week for us. You too can help support the show by visiting us at patreon.com/DCL Podcast. Whether you're boarding a cruise, enjoying a trip to the parks, or adventuring outside of Disney, on behalf of myself, Christy, and Steve, we want to wish you smooth sailing and safe travels. We'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.